I was looking at the calendar and we spoke about 5 weeks ago. And 5 weeks ago, the world was a totally different place than it is today. And I'm a totally different person than I am today. And I've seen a lot of people show evidence of the same thing, although I haven't asked them. But yeah, it's been a lot in the last few weeks. It really has. I've enjoyed your stories. You pop up on the stories, and I enjoy that. Well, the thing is regardless of the downloads we get and the experiences we've had, it's all about right now. And that's what I think your videos capture, when you're out with your friends and whatever you're doing, and so many other people. Yeah. So we're a minute into it. People are coming online. We're going to play a little intro. It's not the normal one. This is our friends at Infused Lights. And so we're going to come back with our beautiful beloved sister Tosh in just a minute. See you in 60 seconds. Oh, it says Joe Walsh. Well, I have to go change that. It says Jeff Walsh. I'll do that while it's playing.
That there is the central self. You can call it God. You can call it anything you like. And it's all of us. It's playing all the parts of all beings whatsoever, everywhere and anywhere. And it's playing the game of hide and seek with itself. It gets lost, it gets involved in the farthest out adventures, but in the end, it always wakes up and comes back to itself. And when you're ready to wake up, you're going to wake up. And if you're not ready, you're going to stay pretending that you're just a poor little me. Why? Because you're saying to yourself, I won't wake up until I feel I deserve it. I won't wake up until I've made it difficult for me to wake up. So I invent for myself an elaborate system of delaying my waking up. I put myself through this test and that test, and when I feel it's been sufficiently arduous, then I may at last admit to myself who I really am and draw aside the veil and realize that after all, when all is said and done, I am that I am. Aren't we just going round on a cycle and doing the same old thing over and over and over again because we don't realize that we're chasing our own tails? By an eternally recurrent process of not knowing who you are. That is the hide and seek.
Hey, I'm sorry about the not changing the name from the last show, but I'm changing it now, and I'll do it while we're doing the show on all the different platforms. That'll take me a little bit. That'll be a challenge to the human normal functions as they're being affected by our multidimensionality. Welcome back, Tosh. It's good to see you. I thought you'd like that beat because it's similar to the beat that I hear in some of your stories that you put on Facebook. It's good to see you. Thank you for coming in.
Good. Thank you.
So what's been going on the last few weeks? I mean, we talked right when this, was it before the equinox? So, I mean, like, whoa, man, this is like a totally new environment, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely feel it's been absolutely beautiful, even just being able to witness in clinic so many patients opening up to just their light body. It's been really incredible how quickly this is happening now. I feel like there's a lot more momentum happening now in the universe, just everywhere. And people are connecting to their bodies in a way that has not been done before. So I'm really noticing with their health, with their ability to connect with low frequencies. Their third eye is opening, so they're actually starting to see things which they've never experienced before. So, yeah, it's been huge, and it's been huge for me as well. I've been getting quite a lot of downloads and bringing through I've been aware of, really working with Mother Earth. Mother Earth is really talking to me through plant medicine, through essential oils, and wanting me to bring through even just with and also with the plant medicine, how it can actually be used to remind us of the scent of the womb. And I thought this was just incredible that the womb actually remembers the scent of certain flowers.
Yeah. Yeah. When you said scent of the womb, like that's, I hadn't heard that. I hadn't even entertained that. But that says so much, right? I mean, that says so much. That's like really, really sensatory. I mean, sensory. It's, you can feel it. But yeah, there's a really strong presence of that. I would just have to say that mother goddess energy in all of us. It's coming out. It's so mind blowing because it encapsulates everything. There's a fierceness, there's a nurturing, there's all these different qualities of what you would think is maternal, but there's also this other side of it. The Kali energy. I don't know. It's just that's what it feels like to me. And then I see this masculine energy coming up because we haven't seen the real one in all of us, and it's like, whoa. Is what we've done inside, is it actually, as within without, is it actually materializing now?
I feel so. I think what's been beautiful is people are reconnecting back home, and being and specializing in wound medicine. This is what I specialize in and talk about all the time. I'm seeing this awaken more as well through actually the menstrual cycle. So women are actually remembering that the gateway to actually dissolve the patriarchy is actually through the menstrual cycle. And for some of you who don't understand this, it's actually because when a woman believes gateway or the portal gateway into the cosmos, into actually the revelation between the conscious mind and the subconscious, and the connection to Mother Earth. And the blood is the actual part of us. We can actually go into the void of the womb. And you'll see this sometimes in the intelligence of that menstrual blood when women start to all bleed together. When you're hanging around your sisters, you'll start noticing that. Women notice that. But then why? Why are we all bleeding together? How is this actually happening? And it's because the menstrual blood, what it actually does, it's reconnecting the sisterhood. It's actually allowing us to purge together, to create together, to rise together, to actually move what we want to birth into this world together. And there is power when we all rise together. And so the more women can actually start to connect to the blood, the more it's actually going to happen on a much bigger scale where the consciousness of the womb and the consciousness of the planet is going to rise.
Wow, I think about that.
And
no, go ahead. It broke up.
One of the actual ways to understand this is when we go to the moon cycles, right? The lunar cycle. We know that a woman's body is deeply connected to the lunar circulation in every aspect, week to week. But it's also important to notice that regarding a new moon, when we get to the new moon, women tend to think that that's like the darkest phase of the moon, which it's not. A couple of days before is actually where the moon goes into the darkest phase. So this is where she will retreat into the void before she can rebirth herself. And you'll see this as she goes into the new moon and all the different stages of the moon with light, right? Up until we get to the full. This is similar to what is happening to a woman's body, where we go into the dark phase, and this is the time we need to go inwards and purge. And when we get the new moon, when we go into our bleed, women will bleed on the new moon, or sometimes it's on a full moon, it doesn't really matter. What it's important for you to understand is that this is happening cyclically through your system. And until you honor that process, you will be disconnected to your body. You will be further to the consciousness of the moon and the planet.
Yeah, that's really, because if, okay, so I've always said, all right, like in this incarnation, I haven't been a woman. I haven't bore a child, and I can see the difference. I can see, for instance, the relationships I have with my children and Morgan has with hers. There's a difference. So like what you're saying, like and I can't be there. I mean, I guess I could try, is from the woman's perspective, the menstrual cycle is like an embodiment of the program almost, but at the same time, it's got this link to the real program. And yeah, I could see where the separation that it might confront you with would be the root. So to go in and embrace that and to see that as the opposite of what you'd seen it could be a very powerful thing. And the other thing it reminds me of is when I first woke up 10 years ago, one of the first things I heard, which I cannot say that I fully understand, I still don't, but listening to you today, there's some type of connection and resonance. And that is, I was told, watch I don't know if it was watch or feel the phases of the moon. Like, so I listen to you, I think about that. There's no coincidences. And I wonder, is that one of the things that we can do to align with what's occurring, is to actually, integrate or connect or merge with the feminine cycle, both on the individual level, such as a woman, and on the collective level with the moon. I wonder if what we saw as one thing is the opposite.
Oh, I mean, you said it beautifully. It's exactly what we need to be doing. A lot of people don't understand that without the moon, there'd actually be no fertility on the earth. Completely.
Yeah.
And that's how powerful the moon is to the earth. And even to understand it even a more physical level, the distance between the moon and divided by the diameter of the moon is 108. The distance between the sun and the earth, the diameter of the sun is 108. The human body has 108 chakras within, and then there's more outside of the outside. So there is this very special connection between the moon and the structure of it and the distance of how the human body functions. So we need to reconnect the moon produces for us and what it's actually lining up within our bodies, what it's actually giving us as messages throughout its cycle. And when we do that, we can literally rebirth ourselves every single month, not just for women, because they are also deeply connected to the moon. Yes, the women are going to feel that more because they get a bleed, but that does not mean that a man cannot process with them. And one way you can actually do that is, for a lot of women, there's many of us that haven't even touched our menstrual blood. Because when I've been able to look at it, it's literally told me its own evolution, its own history. And that was incredible what it was telling me. It was literally describing me my dragon, the dragons of the earth. I was seeing that through my heart. And she wanted me to remind you how intelligent she is, how when we can touch it and place it even on our third eye, it can literally open up your third eye and can really be brought into this process during our bleed when we decide to allow our bleed to just flow. Now, for a lot of shame. So when we bleed, we don't sometimes like our partner seeing blood on us or on a tissue or anything. We feel dirty by it. But when I do, on the second day of my menstrual bleed, I actually have a menstrual blanket where I actually put it onto my bed and I allow my blood to flow. Now, when I do this, my womb takes me into the gateway of everything. Evolution, literally. Everything wakes up within my body. Everything is alive within my body. So I encourage you to do this process and allow your partner to come into it, to lie beside you while you go. And what you will find is that the men will actually remember the scent of the blood from when they were born, because you were covered in this blood when you were born. The brain to actually then go into a process of healing, of a process of trauma, maybe things that haven't come up for you that you haven't realized or you've blocked, will start to allow you to process, to allow you on a much deeper level. So it's a really beautiful honoring process that you can into and connect to that way.
That's powerful because, we do have access to everything. I mean, we're coming into that. You can call it the Akashic or infinite intelligence, but the old saying, it's like the third time I said it today, what we're looking for is always right in front of our face. So just start, like in this example, a woman communicating with the blood from her menstrual cycle, the woman communicating with her womb to the point where she's understanding the lineage of that consciousness in its physicality, which is really no different than you. So it's like the code in all ways, it was galactic and angelic and archangelic and elemental and dragon but it's right in front of our face. It just doesn't look like the pictures they showed us. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm.
But
Yeah.
that's a really, because I've always been organic and I've always had a relationship and a connection with Mother Earth, but in a very, I don't know how to explain it. I'd hear other people talk about Mother Earth like you do and others do, and I'd be like, like so many things in the spiritual community, like, oh, they can do that and I can't do it. But when I think about the physicality to the degree that you're describing in terms of a woman as representation, so I'm the blood and I can speak to that which bore me, because in the end of the day, I'm made in the image. So we can communicate. And that to me is a much more accessible way for me and maybe for men to relate, Yeah.
Or what you can also do is remember that a lot are coming together in sacred circles now. And, there's red temples being built where women gather now on their period cycle on the first day of their bleed. And a lot of them are doing it together globally on the new moon. So when you connect to the new moon, you're going to feel that on an energetic level throughout the world. So meditating, watching and observing the moon, sitting, connect then and ask for all the sisters around you to feel their blood, to bring through new awakenings, new intelligence, help the divine masculine to rise now, and to dissolve the patriarchy. You can all do that because we're into that. And, as you move through that, when we then move into that full moon, which is the time where most women ovulate, that's when we're really stepping into that part of everything we wanted to during that bleed. So this is when we can really birth and make shifts and move through the world with impact during that time as it's light.
Yeah, it's yes. Yeah. I wonder if we're going to get to the point, because it definitely seems like it's inevitable that the physical and the non-physical are having some type of fusion that's creating a third energy that has a physicality to it, right? So it makes me wonder, like, are all the women in the world going to be on the same cycle, just like a bunch of women that are connected energetically in a locale, like you were saying? And because I've heard that all my whole life. You got 3-4 women in a house, they're all having the period at the same time. Well, you can't tell me that's biological. They're not connected, through some kind of intravenous, shared blood, complex. So it's got to be energetic. And that's a strong, strong frequency to be able to do that in the physicality. She never left.
The thing is, science, and science can't explain it. When I talk about it with friends or colleagues in that more medical, no one can understand it. They say why that actually happened, and
Exactly.
it is. It's the scent of the womb. It's the scent of the blood. It's so energetic, and it's just pulling. It's talking to each other. Consciousness is speaking to each other, and it's incredible. It's incredible how it does. It's incredible that it can happen with our young girls and our mothers and our elders. It's and we're forgetting this, and we're forgetting it because for most of us, we want to forget about our periods. Women are trying to move the world in the patriarchy way, the way men are moving through the corporate world and our jobs. We're trying to go 100 miles an hour, and we're not designed like that. A woman's body was meant that way. And because we're doing that, we're shoving tampons inside us. We're putting things up there that are blocking the energy of the womb. It's literally changing the sun by putting these chemicals up inside us. We're forgetting that we're not supposed to swim when we have our menstrual cycle because the vessels are open, that cold can enter and block the womb and make it numb. We're literally making it numb. All of these things that we thought were making our life easy by creating these beautiful products are actually not. They're actually making us silent. It is suppressing the voice of the womb.
Yeah. Well, which is what
I mean, as women,
which is a physical representation of the universe. You could call it the yoniverse. Think about the energetic implications of tampons, of just the fact that you need to even do anything to it, like hide it with a pad, right? Think about the energetics of that. That's already our feminine energy suppressing its self and its essence, which is creation, which makes no sense. It's like Frankenstein's running the show here, but that just the fact that you and others like you express this type of thing in their way. It's happening. It may not be every president and pope and prime minister is a woman today, and maybe that's what it gets to, and maybe that's what it's not. But the real transformation that's affecting the physicality is what you're talking about. We can. As a man, I can tap into what you said. I just said that a while ago. That's as good as a download I've gotten in whenever. That's close. That's something I can actually, hey, I've seen it. I've watched it. Oh, let me try to step into that. There's something about what you're saying that involves the human to the nth degree. And it's not just woo-woo out there. It's actually innate, instinctual, primitive, primordial, indigenous, or something. You know what I mean?
Oh, it goes back so far. And I think that we've only tapped into it to such a small part of the menstrual blood. If you go back in history and in a lot of tribes, we talk about this, the process can even literally reverse aging. It can reverse graying of the hair. It can literally.
I need some.
One.
Ted, I'm sorry. I just got triggered. I was talking to some guy today. He said, "Yeah, I look at myself 6 months ago, and I look younger." And I'm thinking, man, I look at myself on videos 2 years ago, and I had black hair like yours. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that was such a powerful, metaphoric, and literal that with what you're saying. Because to me, if you take, for instance, the menstrual cycle, what the menstrual cycle is to flow of the body, say biologically, and of course otherwise. And you say the menstrual cycle is to to the overall biological function of the body and so on, as intuition is to us navigating our life. We're suppressing the womb, and we have suppressed our intuition. Now, we've always heard women's intuition, but I think what's happening now is from the individual, the couples, the groups out, that we're starting to actually listen to the intuition. There's a big difference between saying, oh yeah, she can do that and she knows things before they happen, but to actually utilize that intelligence, it's a game changer. It's the heart, it's feeling, sensitivity.
Yeah, I mean, it's the second heart of a woman. The womb is the second heart. And there is this huge movement now where women express their voice and stand up for themselves. And there's a bigger thing with this, because the throat, when we actually look at it and the structure of it, and then you look at the womb and the uterus, they look the same because it's connected. And so what happens is that what a lot of us don't realize is when we're in utero, when we're a baby, our uterus, our ovaries are actually connected to the voice, to the throat, and then they separate. So these were very much connected first. And when the throat opens and we speak up and we create sound, it actually opens up the portal of the womb. And this is why you notice that when we're having sex, we create sound. When we give, we create sound. Because when we do that, that's the only way that the womb will open up further, to allow the gateway to take you into a deeper part of yourself, a deeper connection, a more with your partner, but still try to quiet that voice. And it's literally like putting a tampon in your mouth. That's what you're doing.
Yeah. Or a mask on your face. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. but it's true. But it's because the throat chakra is so relevant. It really is. And the first voices in our physical reality that haven't been heard, that are speaking out these last few years, is the divine feminine voice. It is coming. If you noticed, I remember in 2015 when I met Morgan, it seemed to correlate, at least it did for me. And based on, because I'd been involved in the communities for 3 or 4 years, the divine feminine has landed. She's here. And there was a little bit of feminist, and as it evolved, and rightfully so. But it wasn't forced. It was accepting, it was allowing, and it just flowed like water, right? Like Bruce Lee says, like water. It didn't resist. It didn't try to transform by transforming something external. It just utilized that feeling, that intuition, that feeling. I mean, to me, that's what's happening. And part of, I think, what's happening as a result is we're trying to figure out, did I just imagine that? Or is that, you know what I mean? Like, it's a different language. And maybe it's not that difficult of a challenge for women, but, for me, and I have to speak for my brothers, it's new to be able to extract yourself from this logical, rational kind of, unfoldment and planning and strategy. It all goes out the window. It's literally, totally new operating system.
When I'm in clinic and I'm working with men specifically, it's very hard for them to understand this energy. And so I always talk about it more from a perspective to keep it nice and simple for them. So I always talk about, as you know, yin and yang, this balance of energy between the yang energy, which is the masculine, which is that outward energy, and the yin being that internal energy. It's that receiving, it's that wisdom, it's that unconditional love. And yin and yang is literally the energy of life. It's the energy of nature. It's the energy of the human body, of the cosmos, So it always needs to be in equal balance. 50% of yang, 50% of yin is always intertwining with each other. in order to create, in order to birth everything into reality. And so you see this even throughout Chinese medicine perspective. We have a yin organ and we have a yang organ for every system, for every element, for the earth, for metal, for wood, for water, for fire. They all carry both of these energies. An organ or the yin organ's in pain, the yang organ will suffer. So you have to come to this understanding that until you can actually birth, create, do in this world, you also have to be and receive to get the intelligence of what you're creating. And you're always intertwining. It doesn't mean that you have to stop and then go, okay, now I've got to create. It'll happen intertwining of each other, of that energy. But the yin is what we are knowing. What we're trying to birth.
So like, if you look at shadow work or zero pointing work, that inner work, you might discover this and discover that and transform this and transform that. And there's always a connection, don't get me wrong. But the level of ascension isn't uniform. There's always these things that pop up. But the one thing about what you're talking about is that, when we have these shifts at a level of what we can take in, what we can process and actualize, that's a parallel all the way across. I mean, what I'm trying to say is this new energy that we're stepping into, which is our natural nature, if my wisdom goes up, my courage goes up. If, my integrity goes up, my higher sensitivities go up, my skills and abilities go up, my dimensional experience, everything is like, it's I don't know, some people talk about there's a new operating system installed. I feel like something happened on or around the equinox of last month. But, having said that, to me, it feels like that both of them are still running and the old one is just getting softer and softer and softer. But the minute I go, oh, wow, I got this figured out, that's slowing down. Then something else comes in because you think you're so smart. But other than that, I will stick by what I described. Humble pies.
That's true.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, go in. Oh, no, I was just saying, I definitely feel that.
Yeah. Go ahead. There's a lag.
Yeah, that's definitely been happening when you are understanding, and then it's like, okay, I've got this, and then it is. It's the energy truth, right? And your awareness, and then we realize, okay, there's still more to go, and it's a good understanding.
Yeah, I was laughing when the lag was occurring, but because I think of like state flags or country flags, and I think if there's an emblem for the Ascension program, well, I shouldn't call it a program. The Ascension experience is a flag, a banner with a piece of humble pie on it, because you can always tell your progress by the level of humility. And you can't fake humility. You know in your essence when you've just went, and we may not tell anybody, we may not say we're sorry, we may not, but when you've got something at that level, that's got to carry massive, electromagnetic elevation or type of, frequencies. It's funny, we're just coming back to ourselves.
I still find. Yeah. And humility, all of these emotions of, of understanding of compassion, of understanding silence, stillness, and being to move into those kind of states really is the feminine. It's really that feminine energy. It's really the yin. And
that's right.
The yin energy, the yin is the blood. It literally is the blood. It's your fluids. It's the deep, dense energy that's within your body that takes you inside and internal. Right? And when you can even just ask your body to take you into your yin, that's when your divinity of the divine feminine will open up. And that's when even guides will come from the divine feminine. We got it in to show you. You know, Klein.
Man, it happened to me last week. It happened. It happened to me. It's happened to me plenty of times with Morgan, but she, I took her to the airport. She went back to Australia, and that night, for the first time ever, I saw the feminine. I guess maybe it was in my own experience, man, but it was a whole army. I mean, it was like Pleiadian. It was like, and it was like, whoa, you know. And I watched my field, and I seen that with her, but I watched like my field, you know, my team merge with her team, and it was like, whoa. I mean, this is what's happening. This is what's happening. I mean, I know it's hard for us to get around the connotations of gender, but this is happening in all of us. I mean, so you're seeing, you know, the feminine rising in a woman. It looks different than a man most of the time, right? Or the distorted masculine, and you know what I mean? So it's like, whoa. So if this is happening, and we've had several people come on the show and say in their own way that they see this happening, what's going to happen to the third energy? What's going to happen to the physical reality and what instant manifestation and manifestation period means to what we can create when we get out of our way and that masculine, distorted, scared little boy, patriarchal voice goes away? Or we hug it and give it a piece of candy and put it in the back seat so you're not driving anymore.
It's definitely going to be incredible. You know, it's
I think so.
our ability to connect and manifest is going to go through the roof. We're going to be able to birth things to reality a lot faster, and the whole planet is going to change. You know, that's what. But I think what's happening as well, when I see patients, it's like they're having this huge realization, they're having this huge awakening, and then they're going back to fear as well. So the physical body is actually struggling a little bit with people getting sick. I'm seeing people break down, people just not being able to feel and adjust to the frequency of what their body is manifesting now. And people are struggling emotionally. And what I'm really saying to them is, you're growing. This is good. You're actually in the process of growth. But again, you just need to. And they look at me like, no, I don't want to be sick. I want this.
I know, that's what I'm saying. They're like, okay, it sure doesn't feel like when we're in the dark night of the soul, and people are like going, it's going to be okay. And you're like, no, it doesn't feel that way. Some part of you knows it, right? But yeah, that's funny. That's funny. Well, you know, and it's all resistance, isn't it? I mean, whether it shows up mentally, emotionally, physically, it's crazy because we know there's enough of us together now, and we can say, okay, I'm not alone. You know, if that would have made any difference, because this stuff's so powerful, it doesn't matter if the whole world tells you you're crazy, right? But I mean, still, we have each other. So you're like going, okay, this is real. This is really happening. And then you have this human side that's going, okay, because the whole team's going, has to be a unanimous choice in the human aspect. You're the last one to make the decision, and you're also leading the way here. And the human's like going, no, wait a minute, what does this mean now? And what happens if I do this? And what happens? Oh, no, it doesn't work that way, human. It doesn't work that way. You jump through the abyss, and whatever you had is more enhanced, and you have more. And that's taking some getting used to.
Yeah. It's the leap. It's the leap that we have to take. And,
that's right.
You know, a lot of my clients will say to me, you know, tell me the path. Tell me what's going to happen, because I am very psychic. And I've chosen not to tell anyone anything, because what happens then is that I'm creating karma for myself, and I'm telling you your destiny and what's going to happen. And I need you to feel and experience the pleasure of being now in the present and how you can create. You know, and so the more you can feel the uncomfortable and feel good in that, the more you'll trust. Otherwise, you're having sounds where you don't trust your own intelligence to guide you, your own wisdom to guide you. And that's the sadness of it. We want everything done now. We have this human experience where we think that everything instant results, and it just does not. It doesn't happen like, you know, the human body body doesn't even function like that. But it can change and shift, but it takes time. It means conscious awareness all the time. And being conscious is the key. Conscious when we eat, conscious when we're connecting with people, really listening to when someone is connecting with you without already thinking about what you're going to say. You know, being conscious is the key to how everything you're moving in this world, moving through your womb, moving through your health and what's coming up. And for women, one of the biggest problems I'm seeing in the industry, specializing in fertility and women's health, is that women are not falling pregnant. You know, these kids are having a lot of health issues. And it's this not being conscious. You're not being aware of your body. There's this huge disconnect that even when women are going into their spirituality and they're growing more and more spiritual, they're still disconnected to the womb because they're not grounded.
Yeah.
So you're going to have problems, health problems. And you've got to remember that the womb's energy is the soil of the earth. That's what it is. It grounds you. It holds your heart. It holds your body in place so you can bloom into existence. And so until you understand the feeling, the sensation, what your body is trying to communicate with you, because the womb absorbs every emotion, absorbs everything from your whole body and can take, right? And it will suffer in its pain. But it also, within the pain, is its intuition, it's its unconditional love for you. So it can maneuver through your problems with ease if we listen to it without the muffled sound. Everything is muffled for us. Our mind can be muffled. Our body is muffled. So we're not hearing the voice nice and clearly. So that's what needs to be worked on, the voice, listening to it with more clarity. And with that, we need to understand that when we work with the seasons. You know, we talk about nature going through these cyclical parts of winter, you know, spring, summer, all the elements of the seasons plays an integral role for our body. So explaining to you on a daily basis what you can do on the physical way to hold your body in place in a high frequency to help you grow. But a lot of us don't even understand what's in season anymore because of, you know, everything can be bought at any time now. So really reconnect to the earth and understand its veggies, its fruit, it's the way it's actually working for your body, because the fruit and veggies in winter that are ripening is literally for our immune system. It's literally for our ability for our heart to our lungs to open up so that we can breathe in life, so that we can co-create a new way in our life. So the key here for all of us when we're struggling in the human body is come back to the sea. Watch and observe what's happening here. Watch and observe how in winter the body will retreat. The animals will retreat, will hibernate. This is something that we do in the body as well. But we can't move through the world like we did in summer, like we did in spring. Come back and retreat so that you can plant what you want to create towards spring, towards summer. Just like a woman bleeds, she bleeds her moon time, she bleeds during winter. It's the season of winter. That's why she must retreat. Yeah. When you do this and you retreat, you honor you honor your body's season. And that's when you can flourish. So it's understanding that.
Yeah, and the connection. You know, we're talking about going in and engaging the energy of the menstrual cycle. Well, it's the same thing as engaging the energy of the seasons, right? I mean, or even if you talk about fruits and vegetables, right? I mean, you're engaging, you're actually merging in the mutual beneficial time, if you think about it by theory. So that, you know, an apple grows, it becomes ripe. Its next function is what? I mean, because it is a mutual thing. It's always an equal energy exchange. So, yeah, but, you know, regardless of, let's say, controlled weather patterns or even GMOs and whatever, there's still a solid thread of the truth frequency or the cyclical nature of the truth frequency that we can tap into. And I think that's probably a big reason why stepping out into nature is such an easy way to ground, because it's not through words, but you're actually aligning with that cyclical nature that's characteristic of the truth frequency, or whatever you want to call
Yeah, definitely. A simple thing that I always get a lot of my patients to do is, when you are in nature, you lift up something that the nature wants to gift you. If there's a rock, if there's a stick, if there's a leaf, like, we've got to remember that not just connecting outside, but bring it into your home. Meditate with it. Put it towards your womb. Put it towards and feel its balance within nature and how connected you are to it. Because it will literally gift you in a message. It will absorb through your body. But we need to feel it. We need to have it tangible within us. Instead of just looking at it, instead of just walking past it, we can literally use nature on the daily. And, I remember walking past the beach, because I'm very close to the beach, and the seashells started talking to me. I literally downloaded 7 pages worth of information from this, and they were reminding me that all of the elements are within one seashell, that it is connected to the sun, that it's connected to the earth as it sits on the sand, that the wind blows it. So when we hold it and we place it in our, we can literally change the of our whole house. And one thing that it said to me was, always remember to go back. Once you've used and once you've gotten the message from the gift of nature, place it back so that you're understanding the balance of that yin and yang energy. And so you will never get attached to anything, that you will see the
it. That's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, and not to pick on anything or anyone, because I have crystals, but so many things which weren't things, but more belief systems, and they were necessary, got us to this point. And if you look at crystals, for instance, why would they be any less free than we are? If we're going to have sovereignty and there's no possession, why would you take anything and hoard it? So some of the rules of the game that we could easily spiritually bypass because of our over-identification with a crystal or with a process or with a essence or whatever. I mean, these are the things we think, all the illusions are going to be stripped away. Well, there's some belief systems we have that we've taken on, and they were necessary and they were true. But now the game's changing even more. So that's a great example of the seashells. Leave it, you merge, you get, you give, you leave it, and it's better than it was, and you are too, and somebody else comes across that energy. What a really powerful metaphor.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was beautiful because I practice this. I literally practice by using these parts of nature to bring it into my home and see what I feel and connect. And they just love us so much that they just want to help us all the time. But we're forgetting to give back. We are definitely we're forgetting to give back. But as a child, when you go out into nature, when you go to the beach, you see these kids playing with the seashells and also putting them back once they've played with it. Understand it to a level, but we're not using and harnessing it. Even with crystals, what I find now is I've lost my attachment to them, because at one point I was obsessed with them. You do when you start using crystals. But sometimes we get so attached to it that we don't understand that we can bring in that energy by just thinking about it.
Exactly.
And feel it through our body.
Exactly. It's a physical, it's a physical symbol like we get in dimension. I mean, and what you said about the giving back. Well, what does that really take? Acknowledgement, recognition. Hey, how are you? People, I love trees, and I know people might think I'm crazy, but when I talk to them, they talk to me. When I notice them, I notice they notice me. But if my head's so far up my ass that I'm, so self-important and I'm worried about this and why that and all this, it's crazy, because what seems to be unfolding is such a far out, a far out or at least at one time, was a far out reality. Because I mean, if you look at 10 years ago, we're not even in the same, we're not even on the same, we're not even close to the same dimension, regardless of how many people might be asleep or whatever people want to say. This is not, what it was 10 or even 20 years ago. People are learning at warp speed. We're expanding at warp speed. It's starting to have a physical effect on our bodies. And you're a doctor, you know this. Like, you can't make this shift up.
No, it's one of the key things I tell my patients all the time, like, go connect to a tree. And they'll look at me like, what? Like a tree, literally. Sit there for 20 minutes and tell me that you're not going to walk away feeling good. You'll always feel good when you go into nature. It's always in the best, perfect equilibrium for our body's frequency. To this place in Melbourne, in Victoria, Redwood Forest, I was connecting with the trees, and I remember thinking at the time I was building a really big clinic here. And as I connected to the trees, they stopped me. They literally showed me of what I'm actually creating. And they showed me what I was creating was a temple. It was the first divine feminine temple. And it wasn't going to be here. It was going to be in California. It was going to be in the US. And what I was creating was this center where it was a birthing center. It was a center for kids to be born while they were being chanted to so that they were awake. So that women could create these babies with high frequency without trauma, without chemicals, without being in a hospital where it's bright and, we're in trauma. And this center was a center where I saw where there would be, it was like a point, it was like a pyramid. It was a huge center where I saw almost 3 investors coming into it. But we needed to wake up. And women had to remember to return back to the divine feminine fully. So it was a transformation to a very high frequency. It could only be created in a certain sacred sign. I feel like the trees are guiding me to that, bringing back that knowledge of where to plant, because nature knows this. Nature is what holds this sacred site. As us, as we connect to nature, trees will show you where to go meditate. They'll show you where the frequency is. So we need to chat because our root chakra will be activated as we do this.
See, I think that's the thing too about these personal accounts of some people might say perceptions, I would say experiences. They're retelling of how things look, see, feel, you know what I mean? Smell. I mean, and I think that's so powerful because everything else, it's got enough duality in it that it's just not sticking anymore. And I'm talking relationships, methods of communication, jobs, what we think a home is, what we think success is. I mean, it's weird because on one hand, it seems like we're a big ship turning real slow, turning around, but really it's almost like we've stopped on a dime and we're headed back 180-degree direction. I mean, we are moving very fast. And the definition of fast is changing every day,
I'm finding it hard to even keep relationships because I'm finding that I'm growing at such a rapid rate that most people can't even understand me anymore. I'm transforming into another person. So it is happening at such a fast level that a lot of us don't know who we are anymore. We're moving into our true authentic self. But it is a shedding of all of the belief systems that you recognize yourself to be. Yeah, it's happening quickly. And, this is an exciting time.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
As we, couples are having more, I'm noticing couples breaking up. There's so many relationships that are ending now. And, even as relationships are coming into even a higher frequency, people are struggling because of these changes in the human body. So it's really important, even in our relationships, to create solitude right now so that you can learn to really integrate what's happening to you, to give that space.
That's right.
Especially if, you know, together at the moment. I'm finding couples are wanting to have space more, even to have different homes to each other. You know, it's really, really important as we should be at this rate. Yeah.
We're doing it. We're doing it here. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not like so much as different homes. It's just that, look, if the root of the journey is the individual's expansion of self-awareness and everything that goes with it, then why would that change? Even if there's two involved in whatever connotation you want to give them, twin souls, twin rays, twin flames, soulmates, whatever, it's still rooted in the honoring and reverence and love and respect and nurturing of the individual. So when, you know, like in our situation, and I think this is new math. I mean, you know, we're talking about two people on two different sides of the world that went through hell to be together, right? But you get to a point where that service to self, other, and humanity is all one and the same, and it's sticking. I mean, we're talking about the elimination of time and space. We're talking about dimensional qualities coming to becoming us or being turned on that we can apply in the physical. I mean, you know, yeah. Look, we would not have recognized ourselves 5 years ago. I bet you. It would have been too much, too fast. And by the same token, what's it going to look like in 5 months?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to be the headlines. It's going to be the people. It's going to be jumping on a show and you're talking to somebody who said, "Man, you know what happened to me last night? I levitated." Or, you know, I went to Venus and I rapped with my family up there. You know, I mean, it's going to become, because, you know, one thing about the truth frequency, whatever method or methods, you know, it comes through or is presented. One thing about what's happening now is you can tell. You can tell when it's legit. And that's cool.
I think it's and that's the beauty of it. It's such a big community now of a lot of us in that spiritual world where we're being able to communicate to each other, to really help support each other, to elevate these frequencies. And I think there's so much more groups now coming forward as well, which has been really beautiful. I think there's still a little bit of a block when it comes to still like the medical system. It's still in the area that I work in as well, the spiritual people, but also a lot of people with spiritual ego as well. It's still very common.
you're in a hugely imprinted patriarchal construct. I mean, that's about as thick as you can get. And the crazy thing about that too is that there is so many women in that construct, and you know, nurses and otherwise. But man, you got to believe that the collective feminine alignment is going to knock the living shit out of that, out of the construct of the medical industry. You just got to believe it, man, because, you know, one thing about women, and of course we would experience it as men and women, but one thing about the feminine energy, when enough is enough, you know it. And it's like, you know what, get with the program, or, you know, Callie's done. Callie comes in, you still don't get it, it's done. Yeah. Wow. It's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, it's good. It's just a lag.
Beautiful people there.
No, I was going to say, yes. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how, because look, we've had radical changes. Everyone here, if you look at it, I mean, you're talking about radical changes, which at the end of the day is energy, right? So as within, without, we've watched it. we've certainly been able to verify and validate it these last few years through our own lives and other people's, as we've seen how our thoughts create. So how's that going to happen? You know what I mean? I mean, it's like there's going to be some major stuff, and I don't think it's going to be like Nasara, Jasara, or some kind of coming in. I think it's going to be totally, totally exemplary of the energy itself, the transformational energy itself. It's going to be mind blowing and beyond our comprehension, and we're going to be like, oh yeah, that fits, and just more reinforcement for our own understanding and awareness of what we are and what we're a part of.
Well, and what I've been noticing is, especially in fertility, babies, is as they're being able to help women through their fertility, it's amazing how they, they're being born completely awake, because as through fertility, what's happening now is, as I'm getting these parents, these men and women, at a much higher frequency of medicine than I do, really allowing them to dissolve the wounding that's happening in the womb when they're in gestation. So when that baby is being created for those 9 months of life, as we're clearing out those imprints in the womb, what's happening is downloaded with skills that activate the brain of the baby while they're still in the womb, so that they don't forget. It's like the womb is really the construct of the universe, and we want these babies to still, and the remembrance of it. And when I look at some of these babies and I look into their eyes, I can see it. I can see how awake they are. And so the planet is shifting already. The new generation of children that are coming in are going to shift things very fast. And even the young girls that I work with, because I'm trying to get this knowledge out into the communities, into the education system. So what I'm doing now is interact with and daughters when they get their first menstrual cycle, to educate this through 52 different countries. And when we're doing that, when we're getting our young girls at that age to connect to the womb and wake up, and intelligence of it, that changes everything. That brings through a new generation of women really stepping into their power and honoring that and respecting, operating with women from a place of love, not a place of competition. And so if we make those changes in society there, that will ripple through even faster. Yeah. So that's what I'm noticing a lot.
Well, the conscious infusion of aligned heart intention, I mean, you see it a lot in artists, what I would call artists, especially people that are downloading. Like my friend that, 2 months before she came on the show the first time, she started downloading dragons, or they started visiting her. She never painted, but there's stories like this all over the world, and I forgot where I was going there, but I mean, it's all this stuff is coming in, and it is our reality now. It's like these kids that you're talking about. I mean, there's a part of me that knows that there's a baby. Let's say there's a baby in the room and it's 8 or 9 months old. There's a part of me that knows they got this. Like they know exactly. They're more present and more aware than all the adults in the room. But the language is not the same. So, it's like everything else that seems to happen at some point with every aspect of our existence. It's an inverse. It's a paradox. It ends up being the other way, and there you go. What you're looking for is always right in front of your face. But these things that you're talking about, this I know what I was going to say. This conscious intention infused into, I'll just say, creation. And I like to say now, where that inspiration and expression become one thing, the space between the breaths. But if you put that into the context of procreation, Now, I'm not saying that you have to have a physical baby. Let's just say Helioscamos are merging, and you have intention to create a third energy through the experience. Wow. I mean, imagine that in terms of our sexual intimacy being the norm as opposed to 3 out of 4 hits on porn on the internet. I mean, this is where we're going. And it may seem, oh, that's never going to happen. But you know what? It's going to happen. It's happening. It's not about it's going to happen. It's happening. We're doing it. Yeah. And that cannot happen until the goddess energy, that's seen for what she is, and energetically speaking and otherwise, what the yoni represents, what the womb represents. Because, like I told you this before, if God has a gender, I think God's a woman. And somebody said to me, how do you know that? I said, well, have you ever dived into the abyss? Have you ever gone into the womb? Have you ever been in that space where there's no sound? There's no. I said, that's the holy darkness. That's the mother's womb. Look for God in there. See if it's a man in there. I don't think so. That's like, that's the real solitary confinement in a good way. It's good seeing you.
Also really important. Yeah, I just wanted to say it's also really important for women to understand that the yoni, if you really want to activate the womb's energy, it's also really important to activate the chest, activate the breasts, because as that opens, it will send energy into the yoni to create the juice flow. And women tend to get a lot of breast cancer, lung cancer, or it's cancer in the cervix, in that womb area. Those are the 2 areas we hold trauma. And so I actually posted up on YouTube and also on my Instagram a massage technique that you can do through 6 different types of massages, open up the chest. And this is really good as well for your partner to do with you, to create that deeper intimacy, to activate the sexual energy as well and activate the kundalini. So
now you tell me this after she already left. I'm sitting there going, I thought I had all the moves. No, that's pretty cool though. That's cool. And Morgan talks about that, in our Sacred Sexuality. She talks about the connection between the breast and the yoni, and as well as you talked about, what did you say, 108 chakras in the body. I mean, from my experience in the last 5 years, the feminine body is not a universe; it's a multiverse. There's portals all over it. There's portals of information accessible everywhere, and it's all connected. It's like it's like the holy grid, and there's nothing sexual in that comment that I just made. It's just there's something about the physical representation that the feminine represents that is in and of itself creation, Well, otherwise we carry babies.
And think about it as well, like the breast is where we feed a child. It's where we give nourishment and grow. So there's so much even in the breast tissue, and so much memory as well. So it can be highly activated when we're bringing attention to this area, and it doesn't even need to be for sexual purposes. To open our heart, more love. So we're moving from the heart center towards our career, towards our partner. Because when a woman is created in that intimacy, she can literally represent all the elements through her heart. So she can literally send out fire and passion to her husband or her partner and activate his erogenous zones. She can water to help calm and cool his flames of anger through her heart. So this is a way that we can communicate from the heart space, and it creates that circle of web. It goes from the heart to the area of the anatomy for a man, so it's that circle of energy that we want to work on before we come to intimacy.
Yeah. So
that's one area that is really not looked at.
Yeah, far out, man. I'm digging that subject. We got to do. Yeah, the night before she left, man, that was like, whoa, dude. I mean, that was, and we've had a lot of episodes, but the a physical dimensional experience. And then the crazy thing was, I mentioned this on a couple of shows. I took her to the airport. I came home, and I laid down because it was a little different for me because I had to come back into our environment. And I laid down and to connect, which is normally with her, I put my hand out where hers would normally be and felt for it, right? But I went right back into the previous night when she was there. Like I was literally back in that dimension. So I thought, whoa. And to your point earlier, man, this is just, we're like at the movie theater and we're standing in line and the doors open. You can kind of see the screen a little bit. That's about how far we've gone on this trip. But, it's anything's possible, I guess. It's good seeing you. How do we get in touch with you? And are you offering any stuff online? I know you do a lot of stuff locally, but.
Yeah, I do. I do a lot of programs online. So I do run like 6 visual cycle programs. I do talks as well. I do one as well to open up the body, to reconnect you to the womb, to reconnect men as well to their hara, because men's portal gateways through the hara as well around the digestive system. I teach you as well different massage techniques to open up and heal the mother line and the father line as well. And so all of that you can access also through, I've got a lot of free content on a lot of my social media. So if you go even onto my Instagram, Dr._Tashini, you'll actually see so much content in there. And I've got the
Dr. DR or DR period?
And then _ and then my full name Tashini. So THARSHINI. So if you go onto there, it'll have reach me through my website, through Facebook as well. It's Dr. Tashini as well. So yeah, there's lots of stuff that we can do. I also work with couples, so creating a higher frequency of intimacy together and techniques that they can do together to help them with the connection, but also creating a baby and also creating what they want to birth into this life. So there's lots there.
Right on. It's always a pleasure talking to you. I really enjoy it. And I enjoy your stories on Facebook and what I've seen you doing out there, because I see some posts that you put up too as well. I appreciate what you're doing. Thank you for coming in and honoring us with your presence and sharing space with us. And I look forward to collaborating with you again. And I wish you and all yours all blessings.
Thanks, Todd. So lovely to be here. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Peace out, everybody.